I did not. All right, we are ready to get started. Shelley, do you mind putting up our Zoom room so we can see who's with us from afar? We'll get there in just a second. Looks like me, sorry. All right, well, I hereby, as provisional president of the Board of Trustees of the North American Unitarian Association, do hereby call our very first annual business meeting of our yearly summit to order. Yay! It should be a very reasonable, a reasonably short, I should say. It should be reasonable too, but a reasonably short business meeting because we don't have a lot to cover this our first time around. But who knows? We're Unitarians, so I don't know if we'll need the full scheduled 90 minutes or not. But just a couple of I think, brief reports from myself and then from our treasurer, and then we'll go into voting on a couple of items that we have, which, as you probably know, are approving the board's first, our initial bylaws, I should say. I'll talk more about that when we get to those, and then also electing our proposed Board of Trustees members. So, all right. Yeah, for my report, I don't want to give much of a report on the past because Judy Durham did an outstanding job. I thought. Was it only yesterday? Oh my God! Only yesterday, at the start of our summit, talking about where we've been, where we've come from, how we've got here, and I really concur with her report that we've accomplished an incredible amount in a very short time, and that is in part due to the initial organizers and provisional board of trustees, but also many of you. We've had a countless number of volunteers engaged in a lot of the activities and efforts to make NAUA a really vibrant community from the start. So I thank all of you for that. I would rather talk about what we're planning for the year ahead. So we're going to be hopefully adopting very preliminary bylaws. I call them preliminary bylaws because rather than starting with something that tries to plan for every contingency, my style of leadership is management is really one step at a time. I believe slow and steady wins the race, and so we build on our successes, and rather than try to have something that's many pages long that covers every possibility, which probably will end up hamstringing us because we don't know what's coming, to start with the basics and then continue to adjust that from year to year. If we have things that aren't working for us, then we have to wait a whole year to change them. This will allow the board to create policies that don't conflict with whatever bylaws are passed, that can potentially become new bylaws in the years to come. If you look at Robert's Rules of Orders and look at their proposed bylaws sample, you will find that it only has actually 9 sections in it. So it's very, very simple. So we hope to grow this over the years and not hamstring ourselves in the process. So that's one thing. We want to be able to have bylaws that we can work with and begin to create policies to help us operate on a day-to-day basis for the purpose of some things we've not been able to do yet, right? Because we've been really busy putting a foundation in place, some services that have been able to connect us that don't cost us a lot of financial resources, obviously a lot of human resources, but also lots of other things, lots of other types of services that we've had. But we've not been able to, and we've got our documents, so we're established, we're a real organization, we're recognized by the state. By the way, we get the question, are we a 501c3? You're going to cover that, okay, all right. The short answer is yes, and the long answer is no, but yes. So, anyway, thank you for covering that. What we've not been able to do really is the long-range planning. And I mean, I wouldn't want to do a long-range plan before we start an organization, right? But we also couldn't do that without your approval, right? So it's really been a kind of a strange balance, as you had a group of people that said, let's start a nonprofit member service organization that's run by members. Well, you can't start that. You'll start it with no members, right? So you have to figure out how are we going to organize it and get members. By the way, when that website went up, that day we had, I can't remember how many. Do you remember how many it was, Jay? It was like 35 members the first day. And we didn't even announce that it was going up. We just put it up as kind of like a sample to see how it was working. So we actually have had members from day one. People were very excited. But we also recognize that the visioning and the planning for the future, the governance, has to ultimately come from our members. So you engaged in some of that yesterday by talking about what do we want, where do we want to go, where do we want to be. So that'll all be part of that information. And also, we would not want a provisional board doing that long-range planning, right? Because those leaders have not been approved by you. So we wanted leaders in place that are approved by our membership. So we're at that point now where we will start doing some strategic planning. Where do we want to go from here? What do we want to accomplish this year? And what do we want to look like maybe 5 years down the road from now? So the new board will begin that visionary process. That will include looking at some of the harder services to provide, the stuff that's not the low-hanging fruit. Certainly ministerial supply. That's something that a lot of congregations are interested in figuring out where are we going to go from here. And we have to think out of the box. Even the UUA is facing this question right now. There just aren't enough ministers. So how do we figure out how to do that? How NAUA can help with that? So that was my initial interest in starting this. I was worried that our church, for example, will not be able to have a minister after I leave, which is inevitable that I will. And a lot of churches are in the same boat. So how do we move on for that? Fortunately, Jay Kiskell has spearheaded a project that has put us in a good place to really start taking that seriously. And I really think we already have a few ministers and a few congregations to put in that space, that virtual space that Jay has helped create, where they can at least begin to interact with one another. It's going to be very different, right? We're not going to credential ministers. We're going to leave it up to our congregations to decide what are the qualifications we want. And we'll suggest some best practices as far as background searches and those sort of things. Maybe even a means to do that. But that's high on the list for us to try to tackle that this year, as well as other services that may cost money. So far, everything has been rather passive, right? Membership has been passive. Fundraising has been passive. Now it's time to move into active fundraising and active membership growth. So we've got to start going after congregations that don't even know what's going on. Believe it or not, there's a lot of congregations, I hear about them all the time, don't even know any of this is going on. Reaching out to some of them and letting them know that NAUA exist and that we provide services. We're not asking anybody to leave the UUA or the CUC. We're just wanting to say we're an organization of Unitarians. Here are our values, and here's some of the services that we can offer. So that's really what the next year, to me, those are the next steps in the long process of our evolution, of this year becoming more firmly grounded in what we have already established, and begin to build upon that in ways that are even more practical than you have seen to this point. That effectively is my report. I would entertain any questions that there might be, just brief, so we can move forward with the meeting. But yes, go ahead. Tell you what, let's get a microphone since we have folks on Zoom. I should have thought of, thank you, Tom. Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Check. Just a quick question about the
ministerial portal, whatever we're calling it. Ministerial exchange, yeah, something like that, yeah.
I might be spoiled by my union work, but what about apprenticeship?
Yeah, so I don't want to go too deeply into it at this point because, again, that would be even farther out. But you know, my hope is that NAUA will not be in the ministerial credentialing process or certification process or anything like that. Becoming a UU minister is perhaps the most grueling process in any form of ministry. I mean, you could spend as many as 8 years just preparing to see the MFC to get preliminary fellowship. Right, Sally Beth? I mean, it could. Yeah. See, how did I know, right? And then you may not get the preliminary fellowship. You've spent tens of thousands of dollars and a big chunk of your life trying to get there, and they say, well, you're not going to work out for us. And then you have to do. They'll let you come back after another whole year, and then it's probably 6 to 10 years before you get final fellowship, which doesn't exist anymore. They now call it full fellowship, which means they always have a thumb on your education. So you're never through with the system anymore. But so it's, you know, no wonder there's no liberal ministers out there, right? Because who wants to go through that and risks not even getting in for what is effectively a failing organization. So that's happening, and I came from the Southern Baptist tradition, and the Southern Baptist tradition was very much the same as the UUA. I mean, in fact, the polity is the same. The theology is very different, but congregational polity is also true of the Southern Baptist. And what they do is it is completely up to the church to choose their ministers. It's completely on, and so. Some of these little rural country churches might say, Farmer Brown sure does know his Bible. Let's have him be our minister. Or, hey, when I was in college, hey, we're close to the Baptist college, an hour or two away. Let's find a student to be our minister. We know he'll be lousy for a couple of years and then he'll move on, but that's okay. We just want to get together and be together on Sundays. And then you might have First Baptist Church right across from the college that's got a big budget and say, oh no, we want somebody with at least a master's from one of our theological seminaries, hopefully a PhD and 10 years experience. And there is absolutely no committee in the Southern Baptist Convention that has anything to do with that. That is a relationship and a hire and a call between the congregation and the minister. And guess what? Some of our most famous and best ministers in Unitarian history did not go through the MFC. No. Yeah, that's right. And actually converted from other religions. Okay? Now, I actually entered the Unitarian ministry before I ever went through the MFC process. Didn't want anything to do with it, truthfully, at first. So that's what we're imagining, right, is putting the choice, because the UUA has sort of fooled us into thinking that the choice is the congregations, but it's not, because they created sort of an inverted hourglass, right, where the decision, the gateway between ministers and congregations is them. And they tell you what a minister is. And a lot of UU ministers don't know this. They think they work for the UUA, and they think going through the MFC process is what makes them a minister. The only thing that makes somebody a minister is when they are called by a community to be a minister, and thus ordained. So we've been duped. We want to recreate that autonomy where not only are the congregations calling and installing their ministers, but they are choosing what credentials that will satisfy their needs. And think about the diversity of ministers that may now show up in a portal like Jay's created, on an exchange like Jay has created, that you say, well, I wouldn't have thought of this person, but they've got a pretty interesting background and an interesting resume. Let's check them out. Yeah, let's try them out, however they want to do it. Leave it. If our congregations are truly going to be free and autonomous and follow our tradition of truly choosing their ministers, then let's let them do that. So it's not only a matter of practicality, it's a matter of being liberals. So that's my short answer. That's where we want to go. We don't want a credential. We want you to credential. Right? And it may be that after 10 years at your church, somebody's got enough experience where maybe, who knows, they'll be able to go wherever they want, or because they made a name for themselves and they've gained experience, or maybe not, but that'll be up to them and you, not up to us. We just want to create the space for you to somehow fill the need. Okay, anything else did we have? I don't see anything up on Zoom. So why don't I go ahead and submit that as my report for this year to it's already being recorded, so we'll go back and make minutes based on the recording later, but I will invite our provisional treasurer, Lynn Janician, to come forward and give her report.
Good afternoon. It's my honor to stand before you today and offer this treasurer's report at our historic first yearly summit. What an amazing, significant moment in our journey as a growing community. And it's important for us now to take a moment to reflect on the wide collective effort that's brought us to this point. From the beginning, the very first day, we've been an entirely volunteer-driven organization, and every step we've taken has been made possible by your generosity. Whether it was a large donation or a few dollars given in support, each contribution is a reflection of the deep commitment and faith you've had in this emerging vision of service, community, and shared values. When the going has gotten rough, and let's face it, phone calls to automated robots of PayPal and Stripe, and the literal vortex of IRS and Secretary of State documents are the very definition of not fun. But then I get to drive to the church just a couple of miles from my home, and invariably here, when I walk into the office, there are a couple of old school handwritten checks, often with a note enclosed, handwritten. Thank you for existing. Please keep up this important work you're doing. Here's $1,000 to use as the board deems necessary. Please accept this small donation as a token of our great appreciation. We will send more as we are able. The Provisional Board wants you all to know how inspiring your generosity and kind words are. So on behalf of all of them, we thank you. For our fiscal calendar year of 2023, we received a total, goosebumps, a total of $49,888 $834.44. Which has allowed us to cover our necessary expenses. These resources have been used very wisely and very carefully, ensuring that every dollar contributed is being put to work in support of our mission. Every dollar spent from this general bucket of money, this general fund, has been approved first by our provisional board. I do want to clarify and cover for you the most common question we get, and that is NAUA a 501c3 organization? And again, in Todd's words, the short answer to that is yes. And that is because beyond being a nonprofit, we're also a religious organization, which means though we do not pay taxes, we are required to file taxes. Detailed documentation for the IRS of what we're up to, what nebulous activities we might be up to, that qualifies us as a religious organization. So as we grow, and based on the ideas being generated and shared this weekend, that's exactly what we intend to do. The process of becoming formally recognized by the IRS becomes a bit more complicated, and they give you time to do that. But for now, we've laid that foundation, filed the appropriate forms, and are declared on those forms, which we have to do when we file them, as a nonprofit, religious 501c3 organization. Today, as we prepare to elect our first official board of trustees, we're also looking ahead to the work they'll begin doing in establishing our first official budget. This budget will be shaped again by the visioning processes, which we've all been engaged in this weekend, and it will reflect our shared goals and the dreams we hold for this new community, grounded in service and collaboration. So as we move forward, let's not forget that every contribution in time, in talent, in treasure, and sometimes just even in making copies, people are just donating whatever they can to keep us going. That's what fuels our collective mission here. Your trust and your generosity are laying that foundation for something truly meaningful. I'm happy also to take some questions, and if I can't answer them, I'm sure somebody wiser than me related to IRS things might be able to help me out, but I can answer whatever I can. I'll try to. I think they're going to get you a microphone.
How do you accept payment other than personal check in cash?
So on our website, we have a way to use your credit card, basically, on our website. And we use PayPal, Stripe, I don't know what you call those, Terry, but that's the organization that runs that ability to do that on our website. And pledge, too. You can set up an ongoing pledge so that it charges to your credit card every month or something. We have some people who do that. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Of the $49,800 that we received, how much did you spend this year?
That's a great question. Pretty close to that. And it's amazing to me. We typically sit, or have been since the inception, really quickly. I mean, even as soon as we announced that we were going to form an organization, within a couple of weeks, we had $6,000 that came to the church, and we were like, we don't even have a place to put this yet. So the church had to hold that money in trust. Since then, we have typically sat right around $29,000 to $30,000. I get really excited when we go over $30,000. Our biggest expense, our greatest expense, is our website. We have a company that we have hired, basically. It's almost like they are our employer or our employee. It's our one employee. that although they're not an official employee of ours, we just use their services. And that is our biggest expense. That monthly charge for them, it's not a standard charge. It depends on how much we need to use their expertise. And thankfully, we have Terry Anderson, who knows an enormous amount, and we have sent Bob Simone, there he is, to a training place to learn even more about our website maintenance and upkeep and all of those things. So we meet when they tell me, hey, we need the credit card, let's meet and figure out something like that. And then I pay whatever Square is the name of the company. And typically each month it runs between, I mean, it's been as low as $100 and probably as much in a month as $2,000, depending on what our services were needed. That's been our biggest expense.
I was hoping my lovely bride would have asked. I'm going to hear it. But we want to do a direct transfer from our requirement minimum distributions directly into the NAUA, so that we require what?
Tax ID number? Yep.
And other information. Is
Yep.
that available on the
easy.
website?
I don't believe it's on the website. I don't believe it is, but we can easily put that on the website, and I can get it to you before you go today.
Right.
Yeah. It should be on the...
Just curious if you can make that deposit without a bank account number.
Yes, you can. He says so.
So I transfer money from my account to different charitable organizations, and typically the way it is they send a paper check to the organization.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, and it's transparent to me. It works on my taxes, and I don't need the account number of the receiving organization, just their name and address.
That's, and there are others that do that. Tom Mosier is one of those. We do get some other checks like that. They come directly to the office. And our address, of course, most of you do know that we do receive checks right here at the Spokane Church. I think Judy has a question. We have a couple on Zoom, too.
It's not a question, it's a comment, and I would caution you about putting your tax ID number on your website.
Oh, thank you.
Could be misused, big time.
Oh, gosh. See, the things you don't know. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I was just going to say, if somebody wanted to do something nefarious with a tax ID number, they can go straight to the IRS website and get it.
Yeah, I don't,
So
it's not
a secret.
private conversation or information. And you have to give that out to an organization if somebody's trying to do that from a retirement account or something like that.
I'm just thinking I make payments through PayPal often, and all you need is the email of the organization or person that you're making the payment to.
Yeah, and we accept that right through the
Yeah,
right
so
on
that
our
makes it
website.
very easy to make a direct payment if you want to, if you set up through PayPal.
Yep. Okay, it looks like Alan has his hand up online. Hi, Alan.
Okay, now I've finally been able to unmute. I was trying that before and it wasn't working. So the question I have is, I guess it's a point to be made that I would have thought that there would have been a written financial statement, for either like the end of the last fiscal year and maybe the current status that would have showed, income, expenses, breakouts, and current balance and things of that information. That would be normally what a nonprofit would share with its members at an annual meeting, either have been sent out in advance electronically, or it would be passed out and shared electronically at the meeting. So for the future, I certainly think you should always have that, whoever is treasurer so we have more information.
Sure, that will absolutely be happening because I probably won't be the treasurer. But it is absolutely something that needs to be done, and we definitely absolutely want to be as transparent as we can. There was one report in the Liberal Beacon, I can't remember which month that came out, that did share exact dollar amounts of what has been brought in and what we have spent money on time, because we don't have very many expenses or people that we have to pay yet so far. So, and we have no budget. We don't have a budget set up yet, because that's something that we'll be coming to you for, to set up that budget. Thanks, Alan. Okay, I think I see your...
It's Robin in Lincoln.
Robin, okay.
Yes. I joined the NAUA very recently, like just within the last week or so, primarily because I wanted to participate in the conference. And I was actually surprised that there was no membership fee, as it were. That basically there's no monetary outlay to join. So I'm wondering if the NAUA is thinking in terms of having an individual membership fee per each member. If so, I would actually recommend having different levels of membership in terms of financial contribution, so as not to keep low-income people out, because there might be quite a number of low-income people who would actually be interested, but at a certain point they just can't afford it. So I'm just wondering what the NAUA has any ideas about that.
Yes. No. just kidding. Yeah, so I've addressed that before, not at a meeting like this, of course, but I've addressed it a few times. As a minister, I have often heard congregations that I've been involved in and involved with, and I'm involved with a lot of congregations, whether I'm their minister or not, say, now what do we get out of the UUA? Why are we paying all of this money? And it's an extraordinary amount of money. I mean, for a church our size, when we were paying our fair share, what we called our fair share, they call it something else now, it was about $35,000 a year. Right, so imagine what we're losing with that $35,000 a year. So that's very, and even if you're a small congregation, of say less than 100 people, you're looking at $3,000 or $4,000 a year, right? So it's really expensive, and so people say, what am I getting out of that? What are you giving to us? And as a minister, honestly, because I wanted to be a fair share, I thought we should support our denomination as much as we ask our members to support our church. And so I pushed, and our congregations became fair share under my watch, the two congregations I've been part of. But that was a really different question, a difficult question to navigate, right? What were we doing in the bigger world? What was the UUA doing in the bigger world, which things are not doing now? I think that what I would like to prefer is that we at least try for the first few years of our existence to be an organization like our congregations that count upon the goodwill of our members, which puts the onus on us to be something that adds value to your lives and to your communities, where you never have to add, we never have to have anyone ask, now what are we getting out of the NAUA? Because if you're not getting anything out of the NAUA, then we're not getting anything out of you, right? This experience, for those of you here on Zoom and in person, I believe for most of you, has probably been something that's been a very important experience. Not only because of the culture and community that we've experienced here, but because of the ongoing types of services and the services that we have coming, and the continued type of community that we are going to be building together. I would rather than say, you have to give us $20 a year to be a member, or $50 or whatever it might be, I would rather say, please give us what you can. And I think that we're going to have a lot more financial success that way than we would by trying to figure out what financial tier we need to create. So for now, for the next few years at least, let's see how that works. That's my hope. Yes, so we've got a question back here, and then one up here, and then one up here. Is this for me or for Lynn or for both? Or okay, go ahead.
And yeah, it's just a comment as much as anything is that we've invested in a very sophisticated customer management system. Solicit money, it automatically generates how many people for tax purposes are given more than 500 or whatever we want. So, and it also is set up to charge membership fees if we so choose. But it's a way that we can raise money, I believe. A sophisticated set of tools without charging a membership fee for every person.
Yeah, great point, Terry. Thanks. And we know more about you than Santa Claus. So, yes, right here with Wayne, and then we'll come up to Jay. Oh, we have a hand up there.
So I'm speaking kind of differently here. I think that you need to charge at least $1. Because you want to maintain your membership on an annual basis. And it's important that, you don't just keep gathering people for, somebody decided to join in 2021 and it's 2031 and they haven't done anything, but they're still a member and they have a right to vote here. So I think you need to do something that maintains the constancy of the membership and who the people are who are eligible to vote.
I think we can continue to figure out that for the same reasons that Terry mentions, that we could tell who's active.
I think if you have a very basic thing like $1 or $10 or something like that, that's just an annual contribution, and then people can decide whatever else they want to add to it.
I appreciate the suggestion. Okay, if somebody's online, I can't see the hands from here. They look invisible, so Lincoln. Go ahead.
Lincoln, this is Lincoln. I just wanted to, I raised my hand because I wanted to make the point about the donations for people who are over 70 that can be made from an individual retirement account. Those payments do have to go directly from the retirement account to the organization. So the information, otherwise they don't count as a distribution. They count as a distribution, but you pay taxes on them as opposed to making a contribution that is tax-free, which is very advantageous for someone who is over 70. So making it easy to, and I'll be planning to do that in the next year, making it easy to make a donation from one's individual retirement account really is important. So instructions for doing that should probably be available. And that was the main point I wanted to make. Although I agree with the last gentleman who basically said a minimum contribution to maintain a membership probably is a good idea. Most churches have a bylaw requirement that says you have to make a contribution of record every year in order to maintain your membership.
Thank you. Jay.
I want to echo what Lincoln just said. That's part of our strategy, too. We can talk about that offline. I don't want to be a gadfly here.
No, be a gadfly here. That's okay.
I have expressed privately my disappointment in our website vendor, and having heard the expense, my disappointment has gone up even higher. So I don't want to put another burden on, but I think we should re-examine those costs. They seem out of line, especially with some of the quality I've seen coming out of their work.
Thank you, Jay. And the new board will certainly take a lot of this into consideration. So thank you so much for your comments. Is this a question, Tom, or are you pointing to somebody? Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'm pointing to me. Something that's come up, maybe you've addressed it and I missed it, but there's questions come up this, if a congregation joins, are all the members of that congregation automatically members?
Yes.
Okay, that gets into this issue that we've just talked about the minimum contribution then from an individual member. So I trust you'll deal with that.
Well, what we do is we automatically count the members of a congregation or organizational member as our members, provided those members don't object. We don't ask permission, but if they object, we would remove them from our roles.
Well, and it might be a work in progress because our congregation, UUCS, is a member of NAUA, but I was not listed as a member and had to separately register or I couldn't vote in this meeting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
That's what I thought.
Because we sent our membership list to Terry, so I don't know, Tom. I'll have to look into that. Thank you. Yeah. I did want to say one more thing before I turn it back over to Lynn for any additional questions. This is just another part of the 501c3 confusion, because we do get this question a lot. Well, can I contribute? Are you a 501c3? The answer is yes, we are. So you can contribute to us. If you have contributed to NAUA, you can write that off on your taxes. And here's why. Because the code says, IRS code, churches, including integrated auxiliaries and conventions or associations of churches, that meet the requirement section of 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code are automatically considered tax exempt and are not required to apply for and obtain recognition for exempt status from the IRS. Donors are allowed to claim a charitable deduction for donations to a church that meets the Section 501c3 requirements, even though the church has neither sought nor received IRS recognition that is tax exempt.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, and they don't like to tell us this. It drives churches crazy, and especially when you're doing business, because if you don't have the 501c3 status, they want your number. So we don't have it, we're a church. Right, so, but you heard it here. I mean, I read it explicitly to you. So the answer is yes. We are going to try to get, a lot of churches also do get the 501c3 status, but when you can't just do that at the start, because they say, well, you have to send proof to us of what you do. So we have to have proof of what we do before we could actually apply. But we do want to make it life easy on ourselves by getting the validation so that we don't have to keep pulling out my cell phone and digging through my files and finding where I wrote this.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's so strange because when you file, we file a form called a 990 EZ because of our income and what we do, and then it asks you what kind of an organization are you, and you have to choose one of them. And so the only one that applies to us is 501c3, so you have to check that. And so there's no way to say, well, you're not. Yes, we are, because you just asked me, and it says that's my only option to choose. So it's so strange and confusing. And I must make a public thank you to my wonderful husband who has spent hours on the phone with IRS. And helping me, helping all of us, get that paperwork. Hours, and then you get hung up on. Robert, did you hear that? You're a hero. Okay. Any other?
We have another question from the Zoom.
Looks like Kate. Kate Rohde?
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I was, from what you just said, I was thinking eventually or at some point in the near future, it would be nice to have a way to have subgroups that are connected to the NAUA be able to have tax exempt contributions. I know, if some of the dissident groups that have formed or are forming around the country, rather than having each one of them having to go through a separate process to become a nonprofit and be able to get donations, if there were some way to do that through the NAUA, that would be very helpful to their development and also to their income. I know that's maybe a longer term, or it's not something that could be done right away, but it would be helpful, I think, to the development of small groups that are already forming around the country.
Definitely something to think about far in the future, I think. That's a wonderful suggestion. if we could do something.
And another question from Stephen.
Okay.
I just wanted to object to the suggestion that was just made. I think NAUA has to look out for itself and not be concerned about these other organizations of which it has no control. So I think that's a very questionable suggestion.
Of course. Differences of thought and opinion. All things to be having conversations about in our future. Great. Any other questions? Oh, another one? Is that still Stephen? Okay. All right. Thank you, Lynn. Okay. Onward. Onward.
And we don't have a membership report for this meeting, but it's been really something to watch, the emails, membership subscriptions coming in over the past month as we've drawn closer to this meeting. I've seen several a day, Terry, roughly. Even up to today, there were still folks who have joined. Does anybody have a rough estimate? It doesn't have to be exact, but yeah, Terry.
Last week ago was 770.
770 as of last week, and that doesn't include subscribers because we also have some subscribers who have not joined. So. It does include all of us in the church, yes. Yes, it should, although we left Tom out for some reason. I'm going to figure that out. Yes, please do. So for those of you online, Bob Simone is taking the microphone and make a comment.
Yeah, this is Bob Simone from the tech team. So I just want to answer the question, how to become a member. I've had several people reach out to us who have been contributing regularly, participating. They thought they were members, and they were surprised to find out they're not members. So I just wanted to say it's very simple to become a member. You just go to the website. There's a link at the very top that says Join Us. You just enter your name, use the email address you've been communicating with us. There's a little checkbox that says you commit to, I don't even remember it, but just one way to commit to us so that we're not allowing just anybody to join without making some commitment to fair play. And then you're a member. So there's no financial commitment, and then you're a member for life, basically. Frank, I fixed that. When did you try doing it?
Let Frank take the mic. Tell us what your problem is. We'll see if others are having it.
I just try to add my name officially to the list, right? Because I haven't joined through the webpage because I wanted to start a pledge. So I established myself. It took that. And then I tried to log in, so I don't have a password, because it didn't ask me to establish a password.
No, you don't have to have a password to get on.
Well, it says, if you lost your password, click here. I click there. Yeah, okay, I'm just saying,
okay.
That this is a
problem. Yeah, okay. Well, let's figure that out. Bob sounds like he knows how to do it. Sorry for that, guys. There definitely are growing pains that we're trying to work through, and I've seen lots of folks join successfully within the past few weeks, so it must just be some kind of glitch that has happened, so apologies. Hope you will keep trying, but yeah, there is a different, subscribing and joining are two different things too, and I think sometimes folks get the subscribing mixed up with the joining. There's also something on our website, and maybe as we talk, as Jay said, about improving it down the road, we can get rid of that thing that says password or something at the top. Maybe it's not there anymore, I don't remember, but that confuses a lot of people because they think they have to have a password to get onto the website, and that's really for the folks who are managing it. So, okay, so with that said, I would like us to move into consideration of our proposed items to vote on. And the first one would be our bylaws. I hope you all received copies, saw those. They came out in the Liberal Beacon. They were sent out in advance. And so, again, they are very simple. please remember that we are at the beginning of a journey, not the end of a journey. But again, what we did was we did have a bylaw team that really came up with bylaws that were many pages long and a lot of effort went into, but ultimately felt that they were too long for us and could perhaps hamstring us at this point. So we want to have something a bit simpler and something that is in alignment with what are required by the state of Washington, where our articles of incorporation are. So that's what we did. Actually, we took the bylaws that the team put together, fed them into ChatGPT, and asked if it would reduce them to the real basics of what is common for bylaws and something that is in alignment with what the laws of state of Washington are. And then the board took that and built upon it very briefly to add some sections that we thought we would need right off the bat. So that is the process for the bylaws, and I'm sure next year there will be a few amendments to beef it up a bit. But can you make amendments this year? I think we have to, let's see, let me think about how to do that. We want to put a motion on the floor to adopt them first, right? And then we'll go into conversation, and that would be part of the proposed amendment to the amendment would be part of that conversation. Today. Does that work? Okay, so what's up? Oh yeah, Jean, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Jean Larson, a member of this Spokane church. I have a question about voting. Since the church is a member, does the church get one vote, or?
No, everyone in the church gets a vote.
Okay, who's going to cast those votes?
You and everybody else.
No. I mean, the church has 300 members, so they should have what ours.
Well, they need to be here. And that is a good question, because it's just this year. Our eventual goal is that we will have what I call a ballot in every box, right? We live in the 21st century. There should be a way for all members to vote. The issue we have this year is that we're allowing a conversation on those items that need to be voted on. Right, so you can't have people vote in advance on something that we've not talked about and been able to debate. So that is the real question. So we have to figure out what kind of software programs are available for something that is a largely virtual community to be able to vote in a way that includes everybody. So what we don't have in today's system is a delegate system. Right, we have not said everybody's welcome to come, but only a few of you get to vote. Right, so virtually everyone who is a member who is here today gets to vote on the items we're voting on. Okay, so I would like to, let's see, can you put up on the screen temporarily? Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe I'm jumping ahead. About the section on quorum. Are you going to go over the bylaws briefly before we vote, or?
Yeah, let me get it on the floor first, and then we can discuss it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I would like to make the motion on behalf of our Board of Trustees that we accept the bylaws as presented to the NAUA membership. May I have a second? Okay, Jay Kiskell has second. So now we will open it up for questions, comments. So yes, go ahead. So I don't think we're going to show the bylaws on our screen, but what is the?
I quickly looked them up,
Mm-hmm.
which I would have done in advance. I know many organizations wind up having trouble meeting their quorum and therefore have difficulty making changes and getting things done. And so this says 10% of the membership. So if whole churches' members are considered members, are you ever going to get 10% of those in a room going forward to conduct business? It's scary to me.
Yeah. Well, good question. We have 10% now. If you look at the numbers that Terry presented and we count the number of people that are online with us as well as those in the room, we do have 10%. Of course, this again is where it gets iffy, right? Because we don't have any bylaws right now dictating this. These bylaws have to be approved, right? So we're just sort of doing this with the number of folks we have right now. But that's a good question. If 10% is usual, it will work for us or not. It's rather low. Tom, you might know more, but it's rather low for quorums in most organizations. So it seemed like a rather fair amount, I think, when we were putting that together. Tom, what's your opinion?
Well,
Tom has some parliamentary experience and knowledge.
You're right. That is low. 10% is low. The complication, as has been raised several times here, and raised just recently, is if every member congregation, if all the members are part of it, and then your quorum would have to technically be based on all those individual members of all those congregations. So you're going to have to, after these are adopted as, provisional bylaws or whatever you want to call them, someone's going to have to deal with that situation. But from a parliamentary standpoint, typically when a new organization starts up like this, you don't deal with a quorum. It's pretty much everybody in the room is considered a voting member, for the purposes of adopting. And then from then on, you have to live by your bylaws, which establish quorums, and whether it's a majority or whether it's 2/3, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah. So Wayne, go ahead.
So in your bylaws, you've said that your members are elected for 3-year terms. Mm-hmm. There's no indication by the board members of what they stand.
Right.
Because each one should be either for a year, 2 years, or 3 years as your first board.
Well, the first board was going to figure that out first thing. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. That's one of our first plans, so I'm glad you brought it up, is that we will figure out who's going to serve those terms so that we can have the proper rotation. And it may be that someone will serve for 1 year and decide they want to run again for another term next year, something like that. But we will decide. And you keep in mind, some of us, well, all of us who are on, some of those who are on the provisional board members, a lot of them, and we'll to negotiate that. But that's one of the first things we'll say, well, I'll do it for 2 years, and some will be full 3 years, and that should get the rotation going.
Hey, Todd, let me interrupt for just a second. This is Lincoln from the Zoom bylaws we're voting on. One was posted by UU Spokane to everybody, and the other was posted by me.
Help us out here, John Wonderland. He's going to look.
Hi, Lincoln. Sorry, that was me. The one I posted was with the October newsletter. Are the ones on the screenshot newer than that?
But there's not much point in doing okay, but a link is the link to the slides that I just received for this meeting.
Ones in the summit. Use the ones that Lincoln posted.
So yeah, so the ones that you posted then, Lincoln, will be the bylaws. There hasn't been any changes, so I don't know why there's a dispersion.
The one that was distributed as information for the business meeting that you might have all gotten a few days ago came right off the website, so they're the same.
It's the same. Okay, good. All right, so we didn't get back to the question.
And John has a question.
Let me hold off for just a second, John, because we didn't actually finish the conversation on the quorum, and I felt that was an important one to finish before we got on to other things. So we want to be able to, when it comes to something we're going to vote on, is actually try to resolve these questions, okay? So, yeah, Jay, do you have something to comment on the quorum? Okay, good.
The question of a quorum becomes more complicated, and I share my experience from the Universalist Convocation, of which we're very scattered about, and when we meet, we don't get all the members because of the broad geographical distribution. Sounds a lot like the NAUA. And so I haven't yet figured it out, but quorum needs to be considered in a very new 21st century way. Does it have to be simultaneously at one meeting? Can it be expended over time in terms of decision-making? I think this is a topic to be discussed at the board. I'm in favor of the current wording of the bylaws as they stand today, but a great deal of thought on quorum, voting, good standing. Lots of questions need to be worked out, but I think this is an excellent start.
Thank you, thank you. So I think that satisfies me as well, that we would make that part of the conversation around how we include all of our members to begin with, and maybe, as you said, staggering conversations over time in different ways will be part of that. So does that satisfy your concerns? Well, I guess we'll figure that out as a board this year, whether or not that 10% number is going to work for us or what we want to do.
So this could be proposed as an amendment, but I think it's a critical part of the discussion. I was very moved by the speakers we've had so far, and I think that we can do even a better job at showing our belief in democracy. Many, many of us have been unhappy with how undemocratic the other organization that shall not be named has been. And many, many of us were upset that there was only one candidate for president when the bylaws called for two. Now, I am familiar with the church. It's my husband's old church. And believe it or not, it's a born-again Christian church, but they did one thing that I thought was very democratic. They required for every open board position 2 candidates. And that gave them a real choice. And I am concerned, although I will say I have a great deal of respect for whoever has worked on these bylaws. It is a ton of work. I know so much time has gone into it, and I don't want to throw a wrench into things, but I feel like we here, I'm so impressed by all of you, and we are showing there's another way to do things, and we are providing an alternative, but let's show it through our structure too. Let's not just show it through, all the work groups we've had and the committees, wonderful stuff, but I think we can show a model for liberal religion. We can change that, and I think what I would really love to see and propose, and I know it can be an amendment, but I thought I'll just throw it out in the discussion, to give a real choice, have 2 candidates for every board position, and also allow, ideally, for some of those candidates to come from the membership and not just handpicked by the existing board. So the board that we have, the bylaws we have proposed right now has a requirement in it that within this year, the board will come up with a process through which members can nominate themselves and be on the ballot. Keep in mind, we're talking about board members, not a president of the NAUA. We're not talking about officers of the NAUA itself. We're talking about board members, which is very different than having a board that is separate from your officers like the UUA, whereas the president becomes the figurehead and that sort of thing, and you have an executive vice president and those sort of folks that are separate. So we're really just electing a board of trustees today, and we recognize that there'd be some difficulty in floor nominations, given that there'd be no way to vet those, nor who would they be running against, and how would we put together a potential ballot where somebody gets left off who's already on them. We have to create that system. And so we want to create a system where next year there will be something in place, and it may require something really simple, like you have to have 10 NAUA members sponsor you. I'm not saying this is what it's going to be, but something really simple. And perhaps that you would have to apply within 2 months or something of the summit, so that we can get information about who you are out and publicize who you're going to be, that sort of thing. And so, but what I would also say is that as a board and as a nominating team, we will never say who wants to be on the board. Please get in line.
right? It is up to a nominating team to look at certain criteria for who they think are going to be best on a board and best serve the organization. So you're going to look at people's skills, maybe experience, hopefully emotional intelligence, because that's a big part of being part of any group, is to be able to connect and work well with others. So there will be certain things that a nominating team will be responsible for looking for. But we also recognize that there may be some individuals that want to be part of the leadership system, and they will want to be nominated by another group of people, or whatever, through whatever process that we have. Okay, we've got Jay, and then over here, and then here, and I don't see anyone online right now. So
I want to support Joanne in having run in the system of the other organization. That process is really designed to keep down potential candidates, and I'm sure that's not the intention of the NAUA. But I think as we work through our election processes, among the opportunities, if there is only one candidate, we should also have an option of no confidence to make sure there is a choice of if that candidate is actually receiving the majority support of members. And I also agree we should move away from a delegate model of voting and go directly one person, one vote approach.
it's very good. What I would remind you of as well, that our board is rather large for a board, and that's intentionally so. We do want diversity, we want disagreement, we want conflict, all of those things that can make a board work to our democratic advantage, if you will. However, it would, to me, be counterproductive, or rather difficult, for a nominating team to say, we need to get twice as many people as we need to agree to run, and then let them know that some of them may not be on the board, right? Or they actually have to run. So we're ending up with a campaign to be on the board of trustees of a membership organization. It seems like a lot to me. I do like Jay's idea of adding a no confidence. So that, let's say that we created 11 candidates, and there was somebody on there that you guys just did not like, and they were voted down through that no confidence, or whatever we might call it. That might resolve this issue. Okay, so here, and then you've got Joyce in the back, and then, Terry, and then Joyce, and Helen. Okay, all right. We're running out of time. No, we're not.
Sorry, just really quick question. Because of other issues in the other organization, who is on the nominating committee, and who decides who nominates who?
Yeah, so that's also will be whether or not these bylaws get passed as is. So right now, the board acted as a provisional nominating committee because we don't have one. Right, so most of those who are on the board are people who've been on the provisional board. We're just, I think, proven our worth as board leaders, and then we've got some newer folks as well. So yes, Helen.
In Section 6, selection of board officers, it says they shall be selected by the entire Board of Trustees during a regularly scheduled meeting. Why isn't the membership voting on the officers? That's the first question. And the second one I had relates to what was just said about the nominating committee. There's no length of time service on the nominating committee in the bylaws.
Right, we thought that the length of time on the nominating team could, I think, be indefinite, as long as people want to serve in that capacity, or the board decides otherwise. But it's, again, generally a board of trustees determines who their officers are going to be, who's going to serve on is the president and vice president and secretary and treasurer. Again, this is a board of trustees. It's not we're not appointing officers or a president of the organization, that sort of thing. This is just the board of trustees that'll be meeting monthly, like our churches do, to try to make the best decisions we can on behalf of the organization. Yes, Terry.
I think a lot of us feel that we haven't done as good a job as we probably should have on the whole democratic side of this. So on behalf of myself, at least, I'm sorry about that. But there is a bigger problem in the sense that Article 10 on amendments, we know there's some amendments that need to be made to these bylaws at the next annual general meeting. That's why we're going to have a committee and we're going to improve them. But it says the bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the membership at an annual or special meeting. And 2/3 of 770 we probably won't get, and we might have way more than that by next annual meeting. So I'd like to make an amendment that it says 2/3 vote of those attending an annual meeting. And that will at least get us through that hurdle.
So we do have an amendment to... Okay, so we have an amendment and a second to that we alter. Terry, for the record, would you state the...
It's Article 10, it's titled Amendments. These bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the membership attending instead of membership at an annual. Oh, maybe it already does. The membership added. Well, it could be clear attending.
Oh, does it say attendees?
No.
It does not. Okay, so you want to say attendees. Yeah, the 2/3 of the voting attendees. Okay, so before we move on, because we're going all over the place, I want to make sure that the next question pertains to the amendment that has been made, because we need to vote on that. So, Joyce, do you...
No, my question pertains to what Joanne said a long time ago. I raised my hand, and I've just been waiting to...
I know, but the thing is we now have an amendment on the floor that we have to deal with, and so if you'll hang on, we'll come back to that.
Okay, hopefully, because I actually put my hand up before several of these others, so
Yeah, it's just procedure that if we get away from the amendment, then we lose the amendment. So we have to deal with that. So, Jay, you have a comment on the amendment? Because we're going to have to vote on the amendment here in a second, okay? So
I hope I do this appropriately. I rise in opposition to my colleague from Canada. This is the very nature of what I said about a distributed organization, that getting everyone, quote, together at one time becomes more problematic, and it requires a more inventive way of saying how can everyone be together, but maybe not at the exact same time to, quote, create the quorum or to vote. And so I would be opposed to adding in attendance, because that then requires us into one particular model of presence, which is going to be difficult to achieve.
okay, good point. Thank you. Okay, I saw, Lincoln, do you have a question do you have a comment pertaining to the motion?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I think it's all a matter of, to Jay's point, how you define attendance. I think attendance is fine. If we say attendance is a vote is occurring over this number of people who vote over a given period of time, you've accomplished what Jay is asking for, which is a more 21st century approach, but it still limits it still provides the ability possible to gather 2/3 of the membership.
Okay, any other comments on the amendment? Okay, we've got, let's see, John Moore, your hand is up. John, does this pertain to the amendment that's been proposed?
It certainly does. Yes, it does.
Yes, please.
I am a member of NAUA, have been from the beginning. I am attending this meeting by Zoom, and I can vote. So I would be part of the quorum.
Yes.
I think that addresses the concerns.
Okay. Yeah, it would if we make the amendment. Yes, it would add attendees.
I wanted to basically say what that person just said. If attendees includes people on Zoom, and especially if there is a time frame like within from here to there, then that's the best of both worlds, because you don't have to physically be present, it's more democratic, but we can all also have a time limit so that the organization can actually move and get something done. So
thank you.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Shelley has her hand up. Shelley, does this pertain to the... Okay. Shelley has her hand up. You can, if somebody wants to call the question, they can do that, certainly. Okay, we've already got a person commenting though, so let's wait for that and then.
As regards to people in attendance, I should know that. I'm always telling everybody, eat the mic. Is there any scenario in which we could have basically online voting so that people can attend if they want to discuss, but the voting could be basically an online system where people just go and enter their votes? Is that, I mean, that might help resolve some quorum issues.
Right.
I don't know, it's just a thought.
Good suggestion. Okay, so if there's, someone has called the question? Yes, so.
Well, there's some rules on calling the question, since that's a limitation of debate which could offend people who still want to talk. That takes a 2/3 majority to cut off debate. So we have to have some vote counters, and I have Dick and Judy Gammon who have volunteered to count votes, if that's okay with the presiding officer.
Yes, that would be great. And then we have our volunteers online, and your votes online, I believe those of you on Zoom will have to be indicated by the show of your virtual hand. So I hope you know how to do that, not just your physical hand.
Lincoln, we actually have the ability to register both yay and nay votes through the reactions button. There's a green plus and a red X. So let's state the question, the amendment again, and then call the vote.
Okay, the amendment again is to insert the amendment again is to insert the word attendees into Article 10 of the proposed bylaws.
Yes, but we have to vote on calling the question.
Terry, would you repeat it, please? Sorry, guys, I'm obviously not.
That's correct. This is a vote on calling the question.
Oh, that's right. This is the vote on calling the question. Correct. So thank you for that, Lincoln. Yeah. So obviously I shouldn't be up here. I said this was going to be simple. Thank you. I love you all too, very much. Yeah, so we have to have a 2/3 vote. So keep in mind that with the call to question, what we're basically voting on is whether or not to continue conversation about this or to take a vote on the proposed amendment. So if you vote yes on the question, then you're voting to stop conversation. If you vote no on it, you're wanting to continue. Okay, so the green would be for yes, the red would be for no. Here it will be a show of hands, and please leave those up so it will be counted. The question has been called. All those in favor of the question, please raise your hands. I don't think we need to count in here.
You can just declare.
Yes, we can declare. It looks like the same is true, at least from the first page of people on. Fine. So the question has been called, so we then need to vote on the amendment. Terry, would you please repeat the amendment for the record?
This is Article 10 under amendments, and it's so crucial because if we don't have a way to amend it, we cannot change it again. So we put ourselves in a rough spot. And it does say now, these bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the membership at an annual meeting. I want to clarify what at means by just changing it to in attendance. It's maybe a minor point, really, but it really suggesting that you don't have to be at, you just have to be in attendance, and that can be online.
All right, thank you. The motion has been stated. So all those in favor of amending it to include the verbiage as proposed, please raise your hands. Yes, Terry stated that for the record, so we're just voting for the changes.
If you're
Okay.
voting online, please use the red or green buttons.
Go to reaction.
Okay,
Under reactions, that's correct. It's overwhelming online at the moment, 33.
and it's also obviously overwhelming in the building, so we will declare that the motion has passed. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go back to Joyce. Joyce, thank you so much for so patiently waiting. I apologize for having to cut you off there.
So my question, which is actually related to Joanne's, is I have a concern because it appears that everyone is expected to vote on the board recommendations as a whole, and that concerns me. I think they should be voted on individually. If we are not even going to have any choice on who we vote on to say, well, here's a group of people, and let's say I believe that 4 of those people would not be good, then it is my solution. My sole solution is to vote against the entire slate. So I do think that they should be voted on individually.
Wow.
Well, what I would again remind you of is that this is something that we're asking to do this 1 year. There is something in the bylaw that would require the board to come up with a different process for allowing others to run who have not been chosen by what will then be the nominating team. However, if somebody wants to make an amendment that we vote on each individual, you can do so.
Wait, whoa, don't do that until I...
Okay, so
first of all, I agree with you, let's just do it this year. Secondly, you can ask for a vote to split the slate. You don't have to have an amendment. Typically, boards are elected as a slate, but if you choose to, you can ask for a motion to split the slate, and then you can vote on each of them individually. Okay? But it doesn't require an amendment.
Okay.
That would be in accordance with Robert's rules, not that that's what we're going under, but that would be to divide the question, is what she's speaking about.
Yeah. Well,
We have a question from the Zoom.
Yes, thank you. Tessie Bond, please.
Yes, I just want to make a comment. I've been involved with a lot of writing of bylaws, and what I want to say is this. I have full confidence in you and the folks who have taken the time to write what is being presented. And because this is a preliminary type of bylaws, which will need a lot of very detailed study, what we're doing now is basically creating a bylaws by committee. And so what I'm suggesting is that we establish the fact that we do trust you and the people who have written this. And then after the year, for the next time, then with more time to think thoroughly and be able to amend the amendments, that we take the time at that time to quote unquote clean up should we need to. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and
thank you.
I do want to comment on your comment real quickly if I can, because I do acknowledge that these bylaws, particularly for, we're asking you to trust us for a year, and understand that things are not perfect right now, but we have to start somehow and somewhere. And I want to acknowledge that we all should have trust issues right now. I know I do. So it's not surprising that these things are coming up and are important to discuss. I also want to recognize that the amendment we're now dealing with is whether or not to approve the bylaws, not the slate of candidates. So we'll have to come back to your suggestion about possibly splitting the vote in just a few minutes. But are there comments now about the amendment that or the proposal that is on the floor to accept the bylaws as amended?
Yes.
Todd, I was going to comment on the candidates and ask.
So can we hold off on that? But we'll get to that after we settle this. If and after.
Hi, okay, so regarding the bylaws, I have trust issues, and all my walls went up instantly when the gentle lady online said, "We're going to trust you," because that was the road to disaster last time. But in the interest of starting somewhere, I am going to set that aside with some deep breaths and trust you for 1 year. And then we'll come back next year and we will fix everything that's broken. And as long as we can agree that we're going to fix everything that we find is broken next year, let's move on. Let's get going.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Todd, a few more comments from Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, I see 2 hands up. I can't see the first one, but please go ahead if you have your hand up. Well, there's someone next to John. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can, I would like to call the question that we accept the bylaws as amended.
Okay. Another question has been raised. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, a second. Tom, do I need to call for conversation on the? No. Okay, so in that case, all those in favor of the question, please signify by raising your hand or pushing the green indicator. Okay, again, I think we can declare that the question has been passed. So now we will vote on the amendment of approving the proposed bylaws as amended. Do we have a second? Okay, Frank has seconded. I guess this is the question, so all those in favor, please raise your hands or indicate with your green button. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and declare that this has passed. So congratulations. A historic day. We have passed our first, you have passed our first set of imperfect, less than democratic, not entirely trustworthy bylaws. Good job! All right. Okay, so now comes the question of our proposed slate of board officers. Again, an imperfect process because we do not offer a real choice. I admit that. We knew that coming in. I won't say any more than that, but I am going to, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, move that this body of the NAUA electors who are here present for this meeting accept the proposed. Sorry, my phone is going off. It's detective that I've fallen. My phone is telling me I've fallen. And I can't get up. Yeah, no, I have not fallen. I don't think so. But all your blood is in your feet. Yeah. Okay, so again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I propose that we accept the slate of board officers as presented to this body. Do I have a second? We have to have before we make an amendment. Oh, we don't. You said we don't need amendment. What I would like to do before we split this up and have 11 different votes, which we know how that's going to turn out. Let's do a straw poll, not an official vote, okay? Just a show of hands if you're interested in going down that road of voting to split this and having that conversation.
So where's the question, please?
The question is, do you want to have a conversation about splitting the vote into 11 different choices for us today or not. And so if you want to do that, I would ask that you please raise your hands or press your, this is an unofficial vote. This doesn't count as anything, but it would save us some time of debating this, right? So do folks want to do this? No. How about?
No, not on Zoom, no.
Okay. How about here in the room, those of you who would like to split the vote, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay, we've got 2 in the room. 3 in the room. Okay, sorry, I almost discounted a third of you. Okay, so before we discuss it, I just want to say that it is still, because that was unofficial, it is still perfectly fine to make that amendment to my proposal, and we can have a second and discuss it. It's probably going to end up being called to question, and so if you want to make that amendment, please do, and we can go from there. But if not, yes. So we have Dan had his hand up first, and then we'll come over here. So
Todd,
and Lincoln has his hand up. Okay.
Todd, I wonder whether you would have the proposed board.
Hey Dan, just keep the mic in front of your mouth.
Would you have the proposed board stand up or maybe come up in front or some way, introduce them, because not all of us are aware who everybody is proposed to the board.
I don't know if the entire board is here in person or not. Everybody who is, would those of you who are here, who are on the slate, do you mind coming forward?
You actually have that vote on the floor, which is to be voted on to divide the question. So this is breaking from that.
This
is incidental.
Well, we didn't actually get that, right? We didn't get that proposal yet. It wasn't formally made. So that was why I had the. Oh, great. Yeah, and Stephen Palmer and Mike Long are also online. So this is, I think, all of us, including myself. I don't know. Is it possible to spotlight Stephen and Mike? You guys could just raise your hands and you'll move up to the top of the box at least. And turn on your video for a second if you can.
Stevens was on.
There's Stephen. There's Mike. Okay. Lincoln just has his hand up because he wants to say something, so have patience with us, Lincoln. So this is your board. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have to have the list in front of me, sorry. Oh yeah, Dick, who's counting for us. Thank you. No, Dick is not on. He was on the board, but he's left. So I'm sorry, guys, I don't know.
Well, they're on the website.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to spotlight Mike Long. I can only spotlight one person at a time.
Okay.
Stephen, I'll take you down and I'll put Mike up.
I know someone would have to go to the, oh, here we go. Thank you. Yeah, they're all right here. Yes, Jan Anderson. I don't know if Jan's online with you right now or not, but, oh, there's Jan. Yeah, great. Thank you, Jan. Sorry we forgot you. So these are them. There's lots of stuff about how wonderful we are, whether we are or not online, in a printed copy here. So again, several of us have been on for some time now, and we have some new members like Judy and Jan and Bob and Marga coming on to join us, and John, yeah. Yes, sir.
Just a name? Just want our name. I'm Lynn Janishian. I'm Judy Durham.
And I'm Terry Anderson, and all of these bios are on the website under About Us.
I'm John Wonderland.
Marga Hanna.
Bob Simone.
Ron Strange.
And do you guys want to say your names?
Stephen Palmer.
Jan Anderson. Hi, everybody.
Hey. Mike's hand is up, so he's waving at us at least. Okay, thank you all, and thanks everybody for serving and having agreed to serve. All right, so again, to Tom's point, I don't think that it was actually made, right? We sort of interrupted that process because we already had somebody commenting on the floor. So I don't think that there's been an official motion to split the vote yet. Does anybody want to make that motion? Okay, so Philly.
Make a motion for a split vote.
Is there a second? We have a second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in, oh, we have a comment.
I have a great deal of concern of a board that was just presented at the last minute. There was no involvement of the membership in the development of this, and I personally would have to vote against the entire split if there is not some way of some more involvement or like voting individually, or this whole process makes me extremely uncomfortable. I have very big trust issues, some of which are based on personal interactions with some of the proposed board members, and so I feel this is a very undemocratic process, and if, in fact, we have to vote for the entire slate of recommended people who were recommended at the last minute, I would vote no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here and then here, and we've got, I think, Jack Reich online too, so.
I've already said this, but I think choice is very important in a democracy, and I don't think any of us would like to have one candidate for every Senate position, every House representative, every president. And when we say, well, enough people volunteer, we have over 700 members. We just heard that. I cannot imagine we couldn't find enough to have 2 people for 11 board positions. That's 22 people out of over 700. My own preference is I don't think, and I know we're going forward with this, I do not think this vote should be held today. I think we should have 2 candidates to vote, and if not, we should at least be able to vote. Granted, I think everyone's going to pass. I don't think we know our candidates well enough to understand who might be a good candidate and who not, but at least we should be able to express those of us who want to dissent on some of the choices. Thank you.
Okay, one up here, and then we're going to go to Jack Reich and Twinkle, I think.
Okay, I'm trying to find a nice way to put it. Given where we're at, we are trying to get started with the process. None of us know probably all of the candidates this year. We want to get going. These people have worked to get us this far, and they've done a damn good job. So I'm saying, let's vote them in. This isn't saying we will never have democracy in the future, but let's get past our paranoia, vote these people in, let them continue to do the good job. We'll decide next year. We'll have more time to decide if we want to have duplicates for each position, if we want to be able to do whatever we want to do to get familiar and be able to maybe have a more, where we're more comfortable with it. But this year, let's just get them in and let them continue to do the work that, thank you, they've done so far.
Thank you. Okay, I need to get to these folks online first. So Jack Reich and then Reverend Twinkle Marie Manning. So Jack, go ahead.
Hi, Todd. It's great to see you.
You too.
I want to echo the comments that were just made by the last speaker. And you've all heard the phrase, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. What we have here is a group of people who are giving their time and energy to get us started. It's a kind of, in a way, it's a kind of a provisional board that we're electing so that they can get to work on perfecting the organization that we are creating today. So let's give them our affirmation and let them get to work and stop the paranoia about not being democratic, please. That's what I have to say.
Okay, I want to get Twinkle first, and then we'll come over here. Go ahead, Twinkle. Thank you, Jack.
Hey, Todd, thanks. I echo exactly what Jack just said, as well as to add that from the moment the NAUA was formed, invitations have been repeatedly issued for volunteers, including those requests for leaders to step forward. And from the moment the summit was announced months ago, anyone who wanted to make recommendations or volunteer for these positions could have done so. I think you've done a remarkable job with putting this board, or these trustees forward for nomination, and I thank every single one of you for your willingness to do this. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I certainly am in alignment with those comments, but I want to acknowledge, again, the good reason for trust issues that people have who are wanting to go ahead and have this conversation. So, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I do understand the trust issues. I really, really do. There was no way to have a vote for anybody to campaign. There was no container until right now. So this is just 1 year to get things started, and within that entire year, if you have a problem with someone and you want someone else to be put up next year, there you go. There's going to be a next year, and there's a set of bylaws in place to allow that process to go forward. So let's get to the next step, and the only way to get to the next step is to get past this. So I also recommend that we call the question for the whole slate of electors and move on into the future.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Tessie has her hand up again, and then John, and then Joyce.
Yes, at the risk of repeating myself, I think we do, first of all, need to trust. The second point is that I don't know any of these people myself. So obviously I have to trust that they're going to do the right thing because they've done the right thing so far. And secondly, even if you put up 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people right now, I know none of them. So whichever way I went, I would have to go with the trust that you're going to do right by us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, John, please.
Yes, I just wanted to say I'm up for a board position, but I just wanted to point out that two of the people that had some of the heaviest impact on this conference are the 2 people raising this point, and I actually do agree with them in principle, but I also agree with everyone else that we need to start somewhere. So I think we should move forward, but I really want to acknowledge Joyce and Joanne, who have done just exceptional work.
Well, we'll have to have Joyce, go ahead, yeah.
I just wanted to comment that I know that those 12 people were not the only people considered. I know I was asked if I would stand, and I said no. I'm busy building a fellowship. So, and I know other people who were asked and said no. So I know that they went out amongst the community and sought more than these people. and did their best to find people
We had
who
to
were-
settle. We had to settle.
So it's, you know, they reached out. So I just want to make that clear, that there was a larger pool that they sought, and they did their best, and I trust that.
Thank you. Oh, who's called the question? Okay, we have a call to question. Do we have a second? Okay, we have several seconds and only a few minutes. So all those in call the question is do we want to continue the conversation or not, right? So if you approve the question, it means we will cease conversation and vote on the original amendment. Okay, so all those in favor of the question. Okay, it's obviously clear that the ayes have it in this
20
case.
in favor, 1 opposed online.
Okay, so the question has been accepted. So now we will vote on the original amendment of accepting the slate of, I'm sorry, yeah, we will vote on the original motion of approving the slate as presented on behalf of the Provisional Board of Trustees. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for correcting. I mean, obviously, I should not be doing this, as I've said. So I will be the first to admit that you might need to vote me out first thing. But yeah, so all those in favor of splitting the vote, please indicate by raising your hands or hitting the green button. Splitting the vote, yes. Okay. All right, there are a few more online than there are in our space here.
Okay, 3 in favor
yes,
of
but most
splitting.
Okay.
25 in favor of not splitting.
Okay, and how many were in favor of splitting?
3.
3, okay, so actually it evens out. So we will declare that the motion has failed. And now we will go back to the original motion of voting on the slate as presented. And we had a second for that, so is there any additional comment? Helen, did you have a comment? No. You were the one who seconded, okay. Jim, are you wanting to comment on this?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay.
That we vote to accept the slate of board candidates.
All right, so actually, Jim, seeing no other hands up, if it's all right, we will forego the question and go ahead and vote on the amendment. In that case, all those in favor of accepting the amendment as presented of our, I'm sorry, accepting the slate of, the ambulance is on the way. I don't know what I'm voting on anymore. So yeah, all those in favor of accepting the slate of board candidates as presented, please indicate by raising your hands or pushing your green buttons. And again, it looks like we can declare that this one has passed. Thank you all very much, and thank you for...
There's one extension of 35.
Okay, so if there's no other questions or business, I would like to make the motion that we adjourn our first annual business meeting, NAUA annual business meeting. Oh, we have questions? Yes, okay. I didn't get a second, though.
You could declare it adjourned unless there's any objection.
Okay, all right.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. When will this newly elected board meet?
Does you know the exact date? It's next month, November 13th or something. Is that right? When is the board meeting? November 13th, I think. November 13th, 10 a.m. Pacific. Yes, Sonny?
Tell us what the summit celebration that's on the schedule is about.
Hey, Todd, floor mic, please.
I saw on the agenda that there's a summit celebration from 5 to 6 before dinner at 6:30. I just wondered what the summit celebration was.
Yeah, it is just an opportunity really to celebrate the sort of near conclusion of our successful weekend together.
Just being together.
Just being together, yeah. I can't remember what all the events are, but I think I'm doing puppets and singing and dancing, yeah, so, yes, please.
When did the board, the new board we've just elected, plan to develop the budget?
Well, it'll be in time for next year, so we would not approve a budget ourselves or even a provisional budget. A budget would have to be approved by this body.
You will need funds, though, to operate over this next year.
Yeah.
I'd like to propose, not for a vote, but from an aspiring standpoint, that our membership step up financially and help through this first year period. And since we have 770 members, if we wanted to double the amount that we originally raised, I think it was in the vicinity of 49,000, maybe we could aspire to achieve $100,000 over this next year. If everybody would kick in like $130, I think my calculation was, that could be achieved. That's an average. I think we're going to have to, as membership, help financially, maybe a little bit more than we have to this point. This board is going to have to develop a budget. They're going to have to feel comfortable that there are resources available for them as they prepare this.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, active financing will be part of this year's board priorities, but I'm perfectly happy if people will get started now. So thank you for that. All right, I would like to.
Could I have your attention, John? It's very late in France, and he's had his hand up for a long time.
Well,
Could we hear
I see
him?
John's hand, and then it keeps going back down. So I'm sorry. Yeah, John, please go ahead. And welcome, John, from France. We appreciate you being up and attending at this time, and all you've done this year to help make our organization a success.
I can't, I'm muted on the, you can't see me, but you can hear me, I think.
Yes, we can.
I just have I have two concerns. I tried to get in on time, but the Robert's Rules of Order have kept me quiet over here in France. But what I do understand is that you are going to work in improving the bylaws during this year, and you will present next year bylaws that seem to be more appealing and have been cleaned up. And what I would like to propose is that concern be given to what might be a little bit controversial, and that is finding a way of inserting the content of the 7 principles and the 6 sources into the section 1 of Article 2, the mission statement, by the end of the year. The second concern that I have is that there be some place in the bylaws where the commitment to international outreach is mentioned. Voilà.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And then we have, two more? One more?
Todd, I just want to tell you, I got a call and they were all worried about you falling down. I told them you were okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dan. So far.
Well, I would, as a newly elected board member, I disagree with Todd. I think we need a budget this year. We don't have to wait for an annual meeting to get approval of a budget. Board is empowered to run the fiscal organization, and I don't want to run another year without a budget.
Well, that's something we'll have to discuss as a board then and figure out. I'm accustomed to the membership approving the budget overall, but right now we just spend what we think we should because we don't have a budget, and that's worked pretty well for us. We've stayed in the black, actually, as Lynn said, the whole time. So, and that's due to the generosity, your generosity. But we'll talk about that, Terry. I'm certainly open to other models. And if the body isn't concerned about us coming up with the budget as the officers it's elected to do so, that'd be fine. I think it's about time for us to wrap up the meeting. And okay, let's just do two more, unless there are other motions to be made from the floor.
Spokane, put the screen on, please.
There's just one quick point is we can have a special meeting via Zoom to approve the budget, so we don't have to wait till next year to approve the budget.
Well, if we operate by a budget, yeah. If we decide let's have a budget this year and then we'll operate by it before we. Okay. Anyway, we can figure that out as a board. Yes. Go ahead. Last word.
I get the last word, yay. So as far as meetings of the board and special meetings, how does the membership find out that those are happening and attend?
Well, there shouldn't be any. Well, I mean, there could be special meetings, I guess, if we're deciding we need to meet to help plan something that's coming up, like a budget or like a summit. But that should be, I guess that's something that we post or should post in our Liberal Beacon. You'll have to keep out there. I mean, it's the same time virtually every month. So
those that want to stay up to date on meeting schedules need to stay up to date on the Liberal Beacon.
That, and Terry sends out an email, weekly email of things that are coming up too, so you can get it there.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess if there's no objection then, as Tom suggested, I will declare our 93-minute meeting adjourned. Hey, Mark.